You are listening to a Clarkesworld Magazine podcast. I'm your host and narrator, Kate Baker. Greetings, Clarkesworld citizens. Welcome to yet another podcast. The month of December, 2025, issue 231. I hope that this podcast, like all of our podcasts, finds you incredibly well, all things considered. I want to thank you for taking us along on the ride, whether it's out on a commute, out going shopping, maybe listening on a train, maybe just relaxing. You showing up and diving into yet another world and meeting new characters is what we're all about here. And we cannot do this without you. So thank you if you've gone to patreon.com/Clarkesworld or chucked a few bucks our way via donation or bought a subscription. You help us bring all of these worlds and words to you each and every month. Our next story is titled Imperfect Simulations and is by Michelle Z. Jin. Michelle Z. Jin is a speculative fiction writer based in the San Francisco Bay Area. She studied engineering and works in the technology sector, but her lifelong love has always been creating and discovering new stories. So, my dear listener, I hope that you can sit back, relax, and let me tell you a story. The kids like Lu Zhangqi because it's a non-perfect strategy game, a bridge as they make their way onto bigger, more serious things, like chess and Go. It's something that even the most incompetent of them could hope to win. Sometimes you just get lucky. Sometimes your opponent's general starts off trapped. Sometimes your bomb is at the right place and flips at the right time. Killian likes it because he always wins. When he wins, he gets little prizes from his opponents. Broken off pieces from lava tubes on the sun side of the planet, ice-split rocks from the dark side, flecks of iron mined from its core. Tomorrow, he's due to play Robin, who's almost twice his age at 14, and has a perfect seashell taken from a Pacific Ocean coast somewhere on Earth. It's a remnant of home neither he nor Killian nor anyone alive on Proxima B has ever seen. Miss Zadie pulls him aside the day before the game. "Don't win," she says. One side of her face is illuminated by a red glow. It's not from the real sun, but the light reflected from the orbital mirror rays that gives their side of the planet days and nights, mornings and afternoons. Why? Killian is stubborn. You know why. Miss Zadie's eyes are somber, and Killian understands what she is trying to tell him without actually telling him. He wasn't aware that she paid attention to the children's games. To him. He thinks about Miss Zadie's words when he plays Robin the next morning. Most of the class stands on the older boys' side because they know the consequences for rooting against Robin. Many of them have the bruises to prove it. Only Jules stands on Killian's side, but she can do what she wants because her family's important. Her great-grandfather was one of the architects of the move to Proxima B, of the interstellar highways and the solar flare shields, and the first wave of augmentation, so they could successfully populate a new planet. When everyone else stares at the game board, Jules stares at Killian. Oh, it makes him nervous. He doesn't really know her and isn't sure why she stands behind him, but he tries not to look her way and focuses on the game instead. The seashell sits on Robin's side of the desk. Killian knows Miss Zadie's right, but he's heard stories about how you can hear the sound of ocean waves when you press a seashell to your ear, and he desperately wants to listen. So Killian starts running simulations in his mind, and 100 different futures unfurl like a multi-layered flower with petals of probabilities. If Robin flips a landmine, then his chances of winning increase to 47.2%. If he flips a flag, it decreases to 43.5%. Killian does this again and again with every flip and every move. At the end, when he wins, Robin's face grows as red as the sun, and he sweeps the board off the table, scattering the wooden pieces onto the floor. Everyone is watching, so Robin has no choice but to hand over the shell, and Killian has it for one brief, glorious day before the mirror arrays above him tilt to mimic the light of the afternoon. Robin finds him after class and accuses him of being a cheater, but luckily not anything else. He then takes the seashell back. Later, when Miss Zadie wipes the blood off from under Killian's nose and wraps a bandage around his knee, she asks, "What is the probability of Robin taking his prizes back when he loses?" Killian stares back with wide eyes, but Miss Zadie doesn't say anything else. After that, he doesn't play Lu Shang-Chi anymore, but instead dedicates all his time to running simulations. If he steals the seashell back, what's the likelihood that Robin would find out? 54 to 68%. If he helps Robin on the upcoming aptitude test, what's the probability they will become friends? 20% to 28%. Up to 38% to 41% if he can help Robin land a job outside the iron mines. The kids at school are fuzzy problems, but Killian finds that the more he observes them, the more he can narrow down their percentages, the clearer they become. When Mr. Ambrose from their homeroom shows them photos of the traveling black hole that's due to scrape by the solar system in 512 years, he knows that Amy has a 73% chance of raising her hand and asking, "Do you think we'll ever see Earth again?" "We just might," Mr. Ambrose smiles, but Killian knows that the chance is less than 0.2%. If people really believed they could propel Earth away in time, they wouldn't have directed all their top scientists to work on interstellar expansion. By the time he turns 18 and is due to take the aptitude test, Killian has become popular. He's made all the right friends and done all the right things, and everyone likes him because he's catered his moves to each of them. Only Jules avoids him, or more accurately, he avoids Jules. She is still fuzzy when everyone else has become clear. Killian knows where to poke and pull and prod at the outlines of all his classmates and teachers, but the lines that shape Jules are still blurred for him. After the results of the aptitude tests are posted, Jules corners him at the edge of the schoolyard. Killian has not predicted this. "I know what you are," she says, her dark eyes boring into him. He has not predicted this either, but his heart rate spikes, and all his next choices immediately present themselves as inputs into his newly constructed mental model of her. He can play dumb. He can lie. He can shove her so hard into the ground that the possibility of her forgetting this conversation ever happened exceeds 50%. But the probability of Jules revealing what he is to others is quite low. He doesn't know why she's confronting him now, but that part of her is clear to him. That part of her is one of her only unblurred aspects. When he doesn't answer, she speaks again. "I didn't know any kids survived the second wave of augmentation." "Several did," Killian says, knowing that Jules knows this too, and it's not what she means. The other kids who survived are still in hospitals. It had been such a spectacular failure that Earth had issued a statement of condemnation and threatened to pull resources if Proxima B's scientists conducted any more experimentation without oversight from their parent planet. It's not what Jules means, but Killian needs a few seconds to think. He's gathering all the things he knows about Jules and her family, their homes on planet, and on one of the rotating settlements above. Her mother's recent editorial on Earth's hegemony, the red sneakers Jules wears all the time, and when he has them all, he fans them out so he can see the full inventory. "Don't do that," Jules demands. Killian blinks. "Do what?" "Run me like a computer program. I just want to talk to you." He turns to fully face her now and carefully deconstructs the maze of possible near futures. "All right. What do you want?" "Why'd you score so low on the aptitude test?" He immediately bristles. "I scored in the top 10% of a school that produces the planet's most gifted students. I wouldn't call that low." "But you could be in the top 1%. You could have done well enough to get a job in government, maybe even president one day, but instead you've only tested high enough to go work in one of the nearby space settlements. Why?" Killian hesitates because Jules has tested high enough to go into government, and he realizes that maybe it was a little heartless not to reveal this information sooner, but he tells her anyway. "Well, the chances of dying in the next decade as a government official on this planet are a little higher than I like. Off-planet is likely the best place to be." Jules doesn't react the way he expects her to. She doesn't gasp or frown or ask him what the probability is, and Killian understands that she knows already. She's come to the same conclusion without the simulations. She confirms this. "You think we're likely to discover another habitable planet soon, don't you? Maybe somewhere in the Dorado constellation?" For the first time in his life, Killian is genuinely impressed. The only thing you can't figure out is why she still made the choice to test so high. Yes, he nods. Can you play out the scenarios for me? Well, there are infinite possibilities, Killian begins, but Jules interrupts him. Oh, just give me the most likely event to happen at every stage. Yes, but I understand that the end result of a dozen events with a 30% to 40% chance of happening, all strung together, is very low. I just want you to tell me what you think. Killian crosses his arms and looks at her, really looks at her. All the things he knows about Jules are adjusting and morphing. All her futures warp and twist and bend. He cannot figure her out. All right, he says. We're the first habitable planet, but not the best one. After a century here, we still rely heavily on supplies from Earth. Expensive supplies. Supplies that take an immense amount of money and energy and time to reach us. Every human on Proxima B costs 10 times what they would back home. Yes, Jules agrees. Well, we're due to find another habitable planet soon, like you said. We probably already have found it, and the news just hasn't reached us yet, but it will soon. Almost definitely in the next century, maybe even in the next 5 years. Jules nods, and Killian goes on. It's likely to be more habitable than Proxima B. No constant solar flares, no tidal locking. It will take a while, but eventually Earth will come to the conclusion that it's no longer worth it to invest in this planet. It will also realize that it's too costly to evacuate all of us. Jules drums her fingers against her leg. You think it will abandon 150 million people? Killian knows now that Jules cannot possibly believe the propaganda of reunification that they've long been fed, of the hope that one day they will all return to their parent planet. She's too smart for that, but maybe she's not cynical enough yet. He wants to tell her that governments are more predictable than individual people, that predictability rises when you combine elements and not the other way around. The fuzzy part smooths out. He wants to say that people can be highly variable, but the nation-states on Earth have left a trail of evidence pointing decisively to the conclusion he's drawn. That millennia of history and observation have made her question rhetorical. Yes, is all he says. He doesn't see Jules again after that, but he thinks about her when the news breaks, 2 years later, that a settlement ship that set off 200 years before the one that brought his grandparents to Proxima B docks on T0I-700D. He's off-planet building a tether propulsion system for a space settlement when they receive the news that terraforming has started on the toy planet, that he's mapping out his best choices for survival when they get the announcement that the new planet, unlike Proxima B, has an atmosphere. People on Earth rejoice and start naming their kids after stars in the toy system. People on Proxima B rejoice too, buoyed by the Booleans, their parent planet, elated by this promise for humanity at large. Killian's calculating how long their stupidity will last when the first sign of trouble arrives. Earth announces that its next shipment of deuterium to Proxima B will be delayed. Immediately, there's a scramble to deal with this. Their nuclear reactors would have to operate at half capacity. Electricity will have to be rationed. Repairs on orbiting space settlements will have to be delayed. Jules appears on a live video broadcast later that night. Killian has not kept in touch with her since they graduated, but she's become the youngest ambassador that Proxima B has produced since its settlement. She doesn't actually go off-planet, but she has a direct line to the Secretary General on Earth and the proxy head of state on Toy 700D, and she's become a real role model for the youth of Proxima B. Study hard, and you can be Jules too, said posters plastered all over elementary schools. Killian has calculated that she has a 67% chance of joining Proxima B's central cabinet and a 35% chance of actually getting elected as a top official if she continues down this route. She is also running a 15% chance of getting assassinated right now. And Killian knows, too, that this number will only keep climbing. Jules stands in front of the camera now, her eyes as black and penetrating as they had been that day on the side of the schoolyard. She talks about negotiating a solution with Earth collaboratively, of coming to a path forward together. And even though Killian knows she is standing in front of a video recorder and a teleprompter, he feels that she is talking to him, and to him only. His phone rings after the broadcast. Killian doesn't recognize the number, but he knows that it's Jules. He has already played out the scenario in his head. She's coming to him for help. She knows she is advocating a losing position, and she knows she cannot win. The public, still exuberant over the discovery of a newly habitable planet, may not understand the warning that she is giving now, but they will. She needs him to help plan her next moves. Killian has already gone down this path too, and no matter how much they brainstorm and analyze and attempt Hail Marys, he cannot simulate a future where her path is the one forward. He doesn't pick up. When the next message from Earth comes, people start to understand. They are temporarily shutting down maintenance of the interstellar highway connecting their two planets. Ships that would normally take 5 years to get here will now take 15. The people on Proxima B start to grumble. How long is the temporary shutdown? They ask. Hopefully not too long. Earth broadcasts back vaguely a message that would not get here for another 5 years. In fact, they're already behind. Earth has made these decisions years ago, and they are only finding out now. Settlers landed on Toy 700D 100 years ago, and both Earth and Proxima B only learned about it recently because of the delay in information transfer. For all they know, the other planet could be building on-planet skyscrapers right now. People freak out. There are calls to sever ties with Earth, to stop the iron mining, to shore up a military presence. Only a select few champion these ideas, Robin, a vocal proponent among them, but these voices grow louder when it becomes apparent that their planet is not ready to become self-sufficient. They need Earth's resources, and if Earth won't give them, then they must take them by force. Within 6 months, Robin has grown to be a leader of sorts. His slogan, "Adapt or Perish," is a mantra that his growing supporter base chants across the planet's rocky terrain, across its deserts and ice caps, its cities and settlements. Killian has seen this possibility. He watches as the boy who raged over a lost Lu Shanqi match stands on stage and basks in the cheers and applause of the crowd below. It doesn't bother Killian. He knows that when the chaos beneath him spreads and engulfs the planet, his settlement will be ready to propel away. They have enough supplies to reach Toy 700D. If that's the new favorite child, then so be it. Jules keeps calling him, but he does not answer. Robin's advocating for a third wave of augmentation. Is that what you want? She writes. Killian sees the text, but he doesn't answer. He has seen the posters telling the residents of Proxima B that they need to take Earth's resources by force if they don't want to die. He has watched Robin's speeches reasoning that, yes, the second wave of augmentation hurt a few kids, but they will all perish if they don't produce more brilliant minds now. Minds to figure out how to accelerate the terraforming of their new home. Minds to fight and win in battles against their parent planet. Robin himself has reached out too. He has finally, after all these years, figured out what Killian is. You don't have to hide in this world, Robin said. Augmented people are no longer something to be feared. Robin doesn't say it, but Killian knows that Robin needs him to understand how he survived. He needs to figure out how to augment children without putting them in comas. Robin is very predictable. He's more simulatable than most people. Killian lets this scenario play out. He can go help Robin. He would be treated well, and he would know how to keep Robin treating him well. And if Robin starts a war, well, there was more than one scenario in which he would win. Killian debates this, evaluates all futures where he joins Robin and all futures where he doesn't, taking it as far as his mind will let him. Jules keeps calling him. He keeps ignoring her. The only time he contacts her is when he hears that she will be speaking on stage at a gathering in the lava tubes on the sun side of the planet. Jules has become an underdog. The platform she stands on is now porous, and Killian knows that her position will only grow more unpopular still. Last time she spoke, someone threw eggs at her. They yell at her and spit at her and tell her she should die. Killian thinks about the place she's going to speak at. The lava tubes are expensive, but they are confined spaces with little room for escape and a lot of room to hide. If someone wanted to eliminate her, they would do it there. Don't go, he texts her. She calls him back, but he doesn't answer. He has calculated that her likelihood of going is not going to be swayed by anything he has to say. She goes anyway, and he watches on live broadcast as someone shoots at her. They miss and just barely graze her shoulder, and even though this was a scene that's played out in more than one of Killian's simulations, his hands still grow clammy. He doesn't go to Robin. He doesn't suggest that his settlement put the tether propulsion system he's built to use either, even though it's ready, even though the planet beneath him has descended into chaos. Robin has put plans in motion for building warships and hijacking Earth's supply carriers now, Killian knows. A week later, Jules calls him and leaves a voice recording. "You can still join me. It's not too late." Killian marvels that somehow she still sounds like the girl he knew from school. He clutches the speaker to his ear and listens to her voice again and again, the way he had listened to the steady rushing of the ocean out of a seashell all those years ago. He listens to what she's saying and hears the hope in her tone, and he's relieved and angry and frustrated all at once. Maybe she is not as smart as he once thought she was. Maybe he has given her too much credit. He doesn't know why he bothers, but he texts her back anyway, a simple explanation, one that even a child would understand. What are the chances that 1,000,000 coin flips land all heads? 30 seconds later, Jules texts back. Non-zero. Killian stares at that one word and he almost laughs out loud. Even after all this time, she can still surprise him. He thinks back to that girl who stood on his side of the board when he played Le Gentil against Robin. He thinks of all her lines, clearer now, but blurred still. Well, maybe they will always be blurred. He picks up the phone and calls her back. What are your thoughts on the story? You can send an email to kate@clarkesworldmagazine.com. We have a bunch more stories brought to you by your support yet to come for this month of December. I hope you'll come back and listen, should you so choose. And until then, my dear listener, I bid you a very fond and hopefully very temporary farewell.